Hi everyone, welcome back to Crafting with Slavie. Today's video is using the Lawn Fawn waving pull tab to make this adorable card. I started out by ink blending an A2 sized piece of paper, which is 5.5 by 4.25, and I am concentrating my tumbled glass distress ink on the top of the panel, which is in landscape, and you can see there what my plan to do with the card is. I concentrated it there, and then I was going to cut out the snow angels out of the center of that cardstock. So I also put in the ink blending where I knew the angels were going to go. I also cut a panel using the Over the Mountain Borders stamp and die set here with the little trees out of Bristol Smooth cardstock, and I stamped it with Memento Tuxedo Black ink, as I do for all of my Copic coloring stuff that I do. And I blended it on the bottom of the panel with a little bit of that tumbled glass distress ink because I didn't want to be having to color the whole thing in Copic markers. That just seems really wasteful to me. And I don't have the refills for those colors of Copic markers that I would need to use. So, you know, this was more economical for me. I then went ahead and I Copic colored my little bears here. This is all the Copic coloring that I did. It was just the borders and then the scarf and the little bears. So not much to it. And this card was actually super simple. I'm not even gonna step back to let you watch the coloring here. We'll just talk about the card a little bit. So the waving pull tab is a starter kit that you can get, and you can see the little arms there. I've got them oriented the way that they need to go. So there's a right and a left arm, and you can kind of see where the hole is in the center, and then there's an X kind of towards the corner there, the top corner, and that tells you where the arms go on the waving pull tab, which we will get to in a moment here. Okay, so after that was done, I took my two panels and I held them together with a little bit of washi tape just so that they wouldn't move. And that's because this part of the card, I needed to figure out a little bit, and I wanted to include this whole process. So I lined up this little notch piece, and I actually did this wrong, so don't be me. When you line this up, the bar shouldn't overlap your cardstock. It should just butt up against it. And I made mine overlap a little bit, so it ended up being a little bit weird. What you saw there was a brad, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. So I cut that out, and I used the template to cut out the little notches that come in So Much Fun. I am going to link here the assembly video specifically from Lawn Fawn so that you can see any parts that I've missed or that I didn't talk about properly, so you have a better idea of how to put this together. And then this is the part of the card that got complicated for me. So I wanted to use the snow angels, but of course I had no way of knowing where to cut my Bristol panel. So I took the die and I aligned it upside down where I needed it to go. And then I rubbed an impression on the Bristol card panel. And I used that impression to attach my snow angel. And then before I decided where to put the other angel, I made sure that my sentiment was going to fit on the front of that card. So I did the die cutting off camera, and then I came back to my Misty. I made sure that it lined up first and that there was the blue halo in there, which worked out great. And oh, and before I actually did the sentiment, which I had just lined up so I could do it later, I went back in with the tumbled glass distress ink, and I just went around the edges of those snow angels. And then I used my anti-static powder tool before I went in with my embossing ink. And then I used silver embossing powder to do my sentiment. The sentiment is Snow Much Fun, and it is from the Snow Much Fun, Love Ya Snow Much. It is from Snow Much Fun, and it's a perfect little card. It's still winter themed, so you can use it as a Christmas gift or a Christmas card, but I actually needed this for a birthday card, so it worked out really well. This is a little tab that comes in the waving pull tab add-on or starter kit, and it is what holds your mechanism in place. So you glue it on the back, which adheres to the card, then you glue it together, and it keeps everything from moving around too much. Now I have too much of that pull tab on the bottom of the card, so I cut off a little bit, and I'm actually going to go back and cut off even more. Now off camera with all my ink blending, I did ink blend that little notch, the little arrow, in tumbled glass as well, and the rest of it is white, which actually worked out great because you can't really tell that I didn't align the notch properly because it was white. So then I put a little bit of foam tape on the back just to give the recipient of the card that extra movement to be able to get their finger into the back of that slider notch to move the mechanism so that it's easy for them. You can see that there. And I attached it to my card base, which of course is an A2 card base. And from there, we're going to work on the Bristol panel. So this is kind of the assembly, but not really. Okay, so I have this really great white chunky embossing powder is what it is. It's from Wow Embossing, and it is lovely. It is perfect for snow, and I wanted there to be snow around the snow angels. That was kind of my vision, and I wasn't sure how I was going to achieve that with an ink pad. I tried the embossing ink dauber tool, which was not successful. I feel like there's a different utilization for that tool. And then I also had an embossing pen, and I don't know, and that's what I'm using here. I don't know if the pen is drying out, and that's why it didn't really work all that great, or if this is just a function of how I was using it. But I had to go over this multiple times. It could have also been just the embossing powder because this was the first time I've used a chunky embossing powder. But anyways, whatever the case was, when everything was done, I loved the result. It was just absolutely perfect to achieve that we're hanging out in snow look. And I loved it so much actually that when I did the outline for the snow angels, I went back in with the embossing pen and I made little droplets of like snow all over the place so that I could keep using this powder. And I really liked how it turned out actually. It was quite nice. And the other thing that it did too is because I kind of warped my paper. When I attached it to the card base, I didn't use foam adhesive to attach it to the card base with the pull tab and stuff. But because the paper had warped, there's a little bit of lift around the edges of the snow angels, so it still achieves that dimensional look. So I was quite happy with the way that it turned out. So here I am attaching it to the card base, and I then used 3D foam squares to attach my little bears. And of course there's only 2 of them, so it's really, really easy. There's a little bear. He goes in the snow angel on the left, and if you haven't used this before, the heads of the bears do need to overlap. So that was one of the reasons why I didn't use foam adhesive, is because it kind of needed to be not flat, but it needed to be on the same level as the the top layer of paper, if that makes sense. I hope I'm making sense. It's been a day. Okay, so once that was all done, I just removed the backing and I adhered my bear, and I loved it, but it wasn't quite enough shimmer for me. So I added a whole bunch of sequins because why not? And when the sequencing was done, if that wasn't enough, I attacked it with my aqua shimmer pen. I swear, during this holiday season, this thing has gone everywhere on every card. I just cannot get over the subtle shine and shimmer, and I just think it's perfect for anything to do with snow. It is fantastic, and you can kind of see it here. So that's the card, you guys. If you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. I really appreciate you coming by, and if you liked today's video, please hit like, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.